Every ice hockey player who laces up a pair of skates, dons a sweater, and graduates to the highest level of competition strives to become a member of an exclusive club. Toronto is home to ice hockey's Hall of Fame, a place where the sport's greatest figures are enshrined forever as legends of the game. But up until 1958, black hockey players were denied the chance to reach that goal because they were kept out of the National Hockey League. Between 1940 and 1954, the late Herb Carnegie was one of the greats of the senior hockey leagues of Canada. But because of the colour of his skin, he never made it to the NHL. It was June 2001 when we travelled to Toronto to find out more about him. He was 81 then and blind due to glaucoma.
The 3,000 or 4,000 fans were silent, except for one guy. The taunt was as caustic and humiliating as my first childhood experience of this sort of mindless, hurtful comment. When I skated off the ice, Bob Crosby put his arm on my shoulder and whispered into my ear, "The way to answer that remark, Herbie, is to put the red light on."
Audrey Carnegie, Herb's wife, was reading from his autobiography, A Fly in a Pail of Milk. Vicious racial abuse hurled at Herb from crowds was sadly not uncommon. Like thousands of youngsters who set out to succeed in Canada's national game, Herb started by taking to the ponds. He developed his talent on the ice in the Toronto suburb of North York. Yet his father was sceptical about his hockey future.
He knew that I wanted to play professional hockey. He was told by his people at work that your son will never play in the National Hockey League because the other boys won't travel with him. Now, I got that message when I was about 14, but that went over my head because I knew who I was, I knew what I could do, and that was a case of I'll show you.
And show them he did. Carnegie's talent was evident on the semi-pro circuit as he turned out for teams like the Quebec City Aces. He led his sides in scoring on several occasions and won 3 Most Valuable Player awards. In 1941, Herb moved to the Buffalo Anchorite and, together with his brother Ozzie and Herb McIntyre, formed the first all-black line in hockey history. A former teammate and future Montreal Canadiens legend Jean Beliveau described him as one of the greatest players he had ever seen. It seemed only a matter of time before the NHL came calling. And why not? Just down the road, Jackie Robinson was breaking down baseball's colour barrier as he turned out for the Montreal Royals, the Brooklyn Dodgers farm team.
Frankly, I was delighted that it happened because, in a sense, it opened up a possible discussion in the boardroom.
However, despite Jackie Robinson becoming a star in New York during the 1950s, for Herb, the opportunity to make a similar impact was something he was always denied.
The most devastating thing to me was knowing that players on my team were getting the opportunity for tryouts, whose record wasn't as good as mine, which clearly showed discrimination and racism of the highest order. It was losing faith in humanity, you might say.
I knew this is what he wanted, but I always had a feeling, I don't know, they weren't ready for that. And it was true. The times were not ripe for him to be in the NHL.
In 1954, at the age of 34, Herbert finally hung up his skates in order to spend more time with his wife and 4 children. He never did realise his dream of playing for his hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. Willie O'Ree would become the first black NHL player 4 years later. But Herb was not to live the rest of his life in bitterness, thinking about what might have been. His philosophy was to turn the negative into a positive, and in 1955 he opened the Future Aces Ice Hockey School. It was the first of its kind, teaching children how to pass, stick handle and shoot.
The idea came to me, if we have the fundamentals of the game of hockey, why can't we have the fundamentals of how to live? And what are they? From my point of view. I was excluded from hockey. I wanted something that was inclusive.
Carnegie then wrote the Future Aces Creed. This developed into the Future Aces Foundation, a charitable organization run by his daughter Bernice.
Isn't that lovely?
The Future Aces Creed is a guideline for people to show expectation of what a good citizen should be. And what it does is it helps, in this particular case, young people and all people to go forward with their life, to take a look at how they should choose to make responsible choices in life. And that's really what it's about. It's about what you do yourself to make a difference.
The Creed was a success with Ontario's multicultural schools, and today it's distributed in over 14 languages. The foundation has also delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarship funds.
Or 2 or 3 or more.
In addition, Carnegie went on to become a successful businessman and a pretty good golfer too, winning 2 Canadian senior titles.
Yeah, it's Jamaican. Thanks. Oh, you're an amazing man. I've heard many things about you. You're incredible. Words can't describe.
Herb's impact on the community was such that Marvel Comics put out 2 editions of Spider-Man, featuring Carnegie as a real-life comic book hero. When we met him, despite being in his 80s, Herb was still managing to make over 100 presentations a year around Toronto, some in the arena named after him. His impact is so great that some feel that it was a blessing in disguise that Herb never made it to the NHL, because if he had, his other contributions might never have taken place.
By the way, before you speak, can we play on your rink?
I think I'll let you. All he meant is Herbie.
For a man who accomplished so much and received countless awards, there was one last honour he was striving for: to be elected to the NHL's Hall of Fame in the Builder of the Sport category.
Thank you. Nice. Good luck to you. Yeah, it would be nice. My family would be delighted. My friends would be delighted. There's so many people out there that are pulling for me to be in the Hall of Fame.
To this day, the committee responsible for electing people to the NHL's Hall of Fame has failed to recognise his achievements. Whether he's ever given that honour, Herb, who died in 2012 aged 91, will forever be enshrined in the minds of those whose lives he touched.